I think of performance science as essentially all the best ideas we have about how human beings go and do challenging things successfully. And it really encompasses a lot of different fields. So it's multidisciplinary. You've got certainly the physiology, perform physical challenges more effectively. How do they run faster? How do they play better? And it evolved because there were certainly certain professions outside of the athletic realm that do have a physical component, are very sort of performance minded, like flying a plane, being in the cockpit, or being a surgeon, being in the operating room. And so those were some of the fields that, as our ideas about what went into this grew, they adopted it. And of course, those fields also have a lot of elements of decision making and the
Hmm.
thought elements of performance. Again, our bodies are not compartmentalized, so performance grew to also encompass, okay, well, how do our brains work best as we are trying to do these things? Whether that is make decisions in a high stress, high stakes environment, or even just how do we deal with a lot of different information? How do we deal with complexity? And and then finally, of course, the business world caught up and was like, okay, well, if it's good enough for the surgeons and the pilots, like, why would we not be using this also? And so now I think of performance science as being this multidisciplinary bucket of ideas fed by the sociologists and the business schools, people who are really interested in strategy, execution. You could argue that the productivity field falls into this as well, but also psychology, right? All the work on mindsets and motivation. How do we get groups of people to work together on something? Culture. There's a lot of these different ideas that I would say do fall within performance science. And so that's how I think about it. And
Hmm.
again, any field that's very complex, I often want to think about,
Right.
well, how do we actually simplify that so it's usable? And so I think one of the interesting pieces of my practice and developing it has been, how do you take something really complex and make it applicable and usable to people as they're going after the goals they've set for themselves?